Good morning, everyone. It's time to do section 6.8. Today we're going to learn how to add and subtract rational functions. So adding and subtracting rational functions is a lot like adding and subtracting fractions, just regular fractions with numbers. So we're going to walk through this just to refresh your memory on how to add fractions. So the first thing that you have to do is find an LCD, a least common denominator. The way you do that is you list your denominators. So we have a denominator of 3, and we have a denominator of 4. So from this one we have a 3, from this one we have a 4, and then our LCD must contain both of these at least once. At least once. So it has to have a 3 in it, and it has to have a 4 in it, which means our LCD, the smallest denominator that contains both of these, would be 12. All right, so next we have to multiply all terms by whatever is needed to obtain the LCD. So if you look at this first term, the denominator is 3. I need to turn it into a 12, which means I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 4. Next denominator is 4. It needs to become a 12, so I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 3. So our first fraction, when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across, so we get 8/12 plus our second fraction is 9/12. Don't reduce these because the whole point is to have that common denominator. Now, when you're adding fractions, the denominator stays the same. You don't add the denominators, you only add the numerators, and our answer is 17/12. This first example, we already have an LCD. When you have the same denominator in both terms, you just bring it along and combine the top. These are not like terms, so they just have to stay separated. 2x squared plus 2. Now, if you want, you could factor a 2 out. One of the things that we'll focus on today is after you've combined your fractions, you really should take a look and see if you can simplify. For this problem, you actually can cancel the x squared plus 1's, and you're left with just the number 2, which is kind of cool. All right, so for this one, if we look, we have a 2x for one denominator and a 7x squared for the other denominator. I'm going to write 7x squared as 7xx. So when you do your LCD, you list, we want a 2 and an x for sure. So we have a 2 and we have an x. We need a 7. We already have one x, but we still need this second x, so we're going to multiply by another x. Our LCD would be 14x squared. It needs everything in both denominators to appear at least once. So what do I need to multiply 2x by to get 14x squared? 7x. What do I need to multiply 7x squared by to get 14x squared? Just 2. So I end up with 70x over 14x squared plus 6 over 14x squared. And my final answer, well, my final unsimplified answer is 70x plus 6 over 14x squared. Now, I can actually pull out a common factor here of 2, a GCF on the top of 2. So if I rewrite this as 2 times 35x plus 3 over 14x squared, I can cancel this 2 with the 14. And my final answer, which I'm going to put down here, is 35x plus 3 over 7x squared. That is all you can do. Be so careful. Don't fall into the trap of trying to cancel a 7 top and bottom. You can only cancel if you can do it from all of your terms. You can only cancel whole factors. You can never cancel just from one term and another term. It has to be from everything. Canceling's all or nothing. All right, let's take a look at this next one. Before we find the LCD, the first thing we have to do is make sure everything is factored. So this first denominator, I'm going to factor a 3 out and write it as 3 times x minus 4. The second denominator, I'm going to factor x minus 4, x plus 3. So now, when I find my LCD, for sure, I'm going to use a different color. I need a 3. I need an x minus 4. I already have, from this denominator, I already have the x minus 4 here, so I don't need to have it again, but I do need to get this x plus 3 in here. So our LCD is 3 times x minus 4 times x plus 3. All right, so I am going to multiply this first fraction top and bottom by what the denominator is missing, which is x plus 3. And I'm going to multiply the second fraction top and bottom by what this denominator is missing, which is just 3. All right, going kind of down here, I have to distribute. So on top, I get 5x plus 15 over my LCD. By the way, you never, ever, ever distribute out the denominator, only the numerator. On top here, when I distribute the 3, I get 9x plus 3 times my LCD. So if I combine like terms, 5x plus 9x is 14x. 15 plus 3 is 18. On the bottom, I have 3 times x plus 3 times x minus 4. The only possible factoring I can do on top is I can pull a 2 out. And there is absolutely nothing that cancels. There are no common factors. So this is our answer. All right, next one, do very similar to the last one. So I'm going to factor this, factor out a 2, x minus 1. This one, I'm going to factor the trinomial, x minus 3, x minus 1. And so now my LCD, I'm going to see if I can write it down here so that I have space. My LCD is 2 times x minus 1. That accommodates our first denominator. Now the second denominator, I've already got the x minus 1. The only thing I'm missing is the x minus 3. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply my first expression, my first term, by what it's missing, which is x minus 3. And my second term, I'm going to multiply by what it's missing, which is just the 2. So when I multiply this times this, I have to distribute everything. It's like foiling. So I end up with x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 6 all over our LCD. Okay, minus this term, 4x minus 2 all over our LCD. Now we need to be careful about something because we are not adding anymore, we are subtracting. When we subtract, we have to make sure that this negative gets applied to all of these terms, not just the first term, but the whole thing. So when we subtract, I'm going to go ahead and write out. We're going to combine terms. So first we have an x squared. X squared, there's no other x squareds, just comes along. 2x minus 3x is negative x, minus 4x is negative 5x. So 2x, you know what? I think I'm going to do it like this. I'm backing up just to make sure we're all clear. So I'm going to write x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 6. Let's distribute this negative just to be safe. Minus 4x plus 2 all over our lovely LCD. So now if we combine terms, x squared is just x squared. 2x minus 3x minus 4x is negative 5x. And then negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. All right, now this the numerator looks a little deceiving. It looks like it factors, but it actually doesn't. If it was a plus 4, it would factor, but it's not. So that's it. That's as far as we can go. Last one, putting it all together. Going to list our LCD down here at the bottom. Let's go ahead and do some factoring. So this first term, factoring out of 3. Second term, factoring the trinomial. And then the third term's nothing but 3. So our LCD, we need a 3, and we need an x minus 4 from the first term. So we got those two. All right, we have the x minus 4. We need the x plus 3. So now we've got that one. And this last term, we only need a 3, which we already have. So we're good. So we are going to multiply our first term, top and bottom, by x plus 3. Our middle term, top and bottom, just by the number 3. And our last term, top and bottom, by everything it's missing, which is actually quite a bit. All right. So let's distribute. The first term becomes 5x plus 15 over our LCD, plus the next term becomes 9x plus 3 over our LCD. And the last term minus, so I'm going to keep the 2 out and go ahead and distribute the two binomials first. So we have x squared plus 3x minus 4x minus 12 all over our LCD. All right, so I'm going to write all of this all over one big denominator. So I have 5x plus 15 plus 9x plus 3. All right, if it's okay with all of you, I'm going to distribute the 2 and distribute the negative at the same time. So I'm going to have minus 2x squared minus 6x plus 8x plus 24. All over our LCD. All right, let's see. How many x squareds do we have? We have negative 2x squareds. I'm going to use a different color kind of mark as I go. All right, so now let's do our x's. We have 5x plus 9x is 14x minus 6x is 8x plus 8x is 16x. So we have plus 16x. All right, let's go with numbers now. So we have 15 plus 3 is 18 plus 24 is 42. So plus 42 all over our LCD. All right, if we factor out a negative 2, we're left with x squared minus 8x minus 21 all over our LCD. And let's just think about it. The only factors of 21 are 1 and 21 or 7 and 3. There is no way you're ever going to be able to combine any of those to get a negative 8. So we are done. There is nothing that can be canceled. And